This is Papa Smurf. You're listening to Our Lifestyle, the podcast, with ODB and the Mayor.
Hey, it's ODB. You're listening to Our Lifestyle Podcast, also known as OLP. This podcast is brought to you by the fine folks over at Custom Car Show Productions. They have 3 events now. They've had multiple over the years, including their flagship event every June in Biloxi, Mississippi, which is scraping the coast. They now also partner up with Sean Randall and team for Bayou Showdown. That's every November, the weekend before Thanksgiving in Slidell, Louisiana. And don't forget, they team up with Keg Media and team for Orange Beach Invasion. That's typically every March in simply Orange Beach, Alabama. Orange Beach Invasion. Stay on the rise. Enjoy this episode. Where the bitches at, you know?
Oh, well, I know where they're at. They're over there at the Bottle Club.
With Hank.
Fuck Hank, man.
Yo. It's Our Lifestyle Podcast, episode 303, I believe. And I heard someone coughing a second ago. That's either Hank. Maybe that's Hank, smoking something. Or was that Miggity Mike the Mayor? Did we capture him from gallivanting?
Bro, it is Miggity Mike the Mayor. I am back. No gallivanting for me tonight. I'm actually at home and sitting here with a cold brew in my hand, enjoying this beautiful weather after all this rain, and just sitting here chilling, talking to ODB and the Airhead Nation.
Dude, we got a lot to talk about this episode. We are going to have new audio. We're going to sit down with a good friend of ours, Craig Fraser from Craig Fraser Studios, Air Syndicate, of course. He's one of our all-time top streamed/downloaded guests, and he's back for this episode, all new audio, just to kind of check in, and it's going to be a fun one, Mike. The overview of this episode brought to you by Graphics Mafia. Hit up Buddy and who was that? Ryan?
Hey, Buddy and Ryan.
At Graphics Mafia, GRAPHIX, Mafia.com. If you need to replenish your stickers for your brand, maybe you need some light design work, or you need to have a car wrapped. Doesn't matter if it's going to SEMA or if you just need stickers for it. Graphics Mafia, they'll get you squared away. But Mike, dude, let's talk about some of the general updates, man, because you and I, we haven't had a chance to really sync up. You spent some time in Orlando with the family and stuff. How have things been?
Bro, life has been freaking awesome. It's been good. Thing we were able to, last Wednesday after work, got back up the truck and we hauled ass to Orlando. And I don't know if everybody knows or not, but my daughter works at Universal, so she gets those good hotel rates. But we got freaking Cabana Bay for $50 a night. So she came in on Tuesday. We got there Wednesday, and we were there till Saturday. And I just hung out, chilled, and went to the parks and enjoyed the hotels up there, and we had a great time. Had really good food, and then on our way back, we got to stop at Peace River and hang out with Mr. John Lopez and Kim and my buddy George for his birthday. They're at Peace River and go do the whole mudding deal. And so we had some good food there, some good people, and then hauled ass home and got home just in time for Mom and Dad's 50th anniversary party on Sunday. And we had a bunch of family in for that, and they just finally left on Tuesday, today actually. Of course, we're recording on Tuesday, so it's been a busy week, but lots of fun, brother.
Yeah, and even before that, I think you went to the one show, then you had a weekend off. Unfortunately, we couldn't make the Spark show, one of our favorite shows. We talked a lot about last week on how epic it was and all the great comments out there about that event. But and then you had this family event. So it's kind of that balance, but it's also, Mike, we got to remind people, I mean, we're full throttle, full summer down here still with a lot of moving parts, right?
Oh, well, yeah. I totally forgot. The week before that, we were on our family vacation in Panama City. So yeah, no, it's been go. But hey, they don't call me the gallivanting man for nothing, right?
Right. And dude, I mean, if I was a lawyer, I was trying to establish the case that, you have been gallivanting. So I want the Airhead Nation to know we're very lucky to have Mike to be able to sit down with us tonight, and we appreciate that. But
I don't know about lucky, but definitely want to give a shout out to our boy Josh Ellis. I haven't talked to him in a while, and he sent a message, so that was nice. And our boy Relax Joey, he's been texting and checking on me, and Scotty the Body, he always calls in and checks on me. So definitely appreciate you guys, and thank you for checking in. No, life is good, life is busy as always, and just doing that gallivanting thing, bro.
yeah, you can't stop. And I was gonna say, I think Josh is one of my buddies that, there's a lot of guys coming at you with these Mazdas, dude. They said they're pulling no punches, and I said, Mike you are kind of shaking in your boots, but you know how to kind of keep a level head when you kind of go in the war, So I got my faith in you, bro.
Well, it's funny that you say got me shaking in my boots, because I got a quick story for you in the Airhead Nation.
Oh shit!
Talking about the Mazda. We had gotten back from our vacation in Panama City, and we get back on, I believe it was that Saturday night. I think we got in like at 10 o'clock at night, and I was up on the ladder in the garage, and I was cleaning out the drain line for the AC with the shop vac. And so the water had spilled, and it spilled on the ladder. So I went and, of course, that step that says do not step all the way at the top of the ladder.
Oh, shit.
So I was standing on that, and I stepped down. I slipped off, and I fell off the ladder. And so I go flying off this damn ladder. Guess what I landed on, and guess what saved me?
Dude, did you go top ropes onto the hood?
Top rope onto the hood, brother.
Dude, man, so, I wish you had a security camera somewhere that was rolling tape, bro.
Bro, I had never gotten so in much trouble from my wife.
You okay?
Oh, yeah, man. I of course, obviously, it fucking blew out all my damn. Took my breath away, and I laid there for a little bit, but I jumped right back up. Came in, sat down on the couch, because she was putting stuff away because we had just gotten home. And she's like, what's wrong? Are you okay? And I'm like, I just fell off the ladder. You did what? I was like, yeah, I just fell off the ladder, and I'm done. I'm not doing nothing else tonight. And she goes, what'd you fall on? I said, my truck. Oh my God, are you serious? And she walks out there. She goes, holy shit. So, yeah, I got to get a new hood, needless to say.
Dude, I mean, this is like you, I think, channeling your inner Cactus Jack, And you knew if you could hit that hood right, that gets scrapped, full Feltham graphics, or whatever you end up doing. I mean, maybe even calling, Craig Fraser. He might fly in, and do a full deal. I mean, this is what many truckers, dream of, something like this, Mike, that starts the snowball effect. But I'm glad you're okay, man.
Yeah, me too. And but hey, life is good, and nothing that my boy Scott over at Intense Works can't take care of. So I wanted to get that damn turbo hood anyway.
Yeah.
So this is the reason why I got to get a new hood. So let's go ahead and go get that other hood, and we'll throw some graphics on it, and we'll be good to go.
Dude, you'll be winning trophy. Well, I don't know, but you'll be, gallivanting in no time. Well, on the 12th, since we had Maddie's grandfather's birthday on the 13th, we went out to eat. We haven't been out a lot. We order in sometimes, but we eat at home a lot and stuff like that. But on the 12th, we went out with an old friend, his wife, his son. Preston and him are days apart. In terms of age, and we had a good time, but I think Preston started feeling kind of like he had a cold on that Saturday, Sunday. Nothing too crazy, and then like Monday comes, so they went to school like that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the 10th through the 12th. Well, when Monday came around, he was sick. Take him to the doctor, and he's sick and all that. So we all ended up getting sick. Like pretty much was kind of he lounged around all that Sunday, the 14th, 15th, that whole week he was out of school. So, he went to school 3 days. he was out 5. We were all sick. You know, I don't get into all, you know, all that stuff, but I mean, we were down and out, you know, nothing that we didn't feel like we were going to come back from, you know, thankfully, for our sake. But, yeah, dude, I mean, it was weird. Towards the end of the week, I worked each day. I tend not to take a lot of sick time at all, but that Friday came, dude, and I was like out of commission. I had went to bed at like 6:30 in the afternoon Thursday, dude. I woke up 6:30 in the morning Friday, took the day off, slept, and I mean, I felt like when Monday rolled around, dude, like I felt like I was the biggest couch potato in the world, dude. Watched every Netflix show, every smut channel, this, and dude, I mean, I was ready to get back to work, bro.
Yeah, that's the thing when you end up getting sick and you're out of work for a while, and then it's like, man, I'm ready to go back to work.
Yeah, it was crazy. So we're all back in the catbird seat. But the general update's brought to you by our family, Joey at Get Decked. If you've got a photo or some artwork that you want to put on a skate deck, hit up Joey. Just search Get Decked on Facebook or Instagram. Send Joey Dilworth a direct message, and he'll take care of you. The holidays are coming. Maybe you want to do a unique gift. He's got all kinds of ideas, but of course, you know, you got to give him a little bit on what you're looking for. But, Mike, if you're a show promoter, you need to get the skate decks. I think he's the number one supplier for the scene, and we can't thank the Airhead Nation and all the show promoters out there enough for jumping on board with the amazing Joey over at Get Decked.
Oh, that's every show should have some skate decks, and that's an absolute must. I mean, you can basically take your artwork to a whole nother level with the artwork from Joey at Get Decked.
Real deal. So, Mike, the last episode recap, quick one here, but get this, dude. I went down memory lane last week, kind of right before I started to lose my voice. Thankfully, I was able to get some audio done. And I talked about when I bought my S10 25 years ago. Now, I always thought it was August. It ended up being, I think, July 30th of 97 when we signed the deal. And I think it took a week or two because I ended up having air conditioning installed in it. Talked a little bit about it. But, dude, I went back and I found the original receipt. You know I got that for my wheels, my centerline wheels, dude. And I think what I paid for 4 wheels, 17s, is pretty much, like, you can't even buy one wheel these days for that, you know? It's crazy. So, yeah, good old... yeah, good times. The only thing I forgot to mention was, you know, for a long time, the truck was known as Severed U, and it was kind of tied into Severed Ties, and it was severing the competition. But as time went on, and Matt had moved, and the project kind of ended up with Jimmy, at, you know, Jimmy's Running Customs, I transitioned the name of the truck. You know, and it kind of, I've talked in the past, you know, the cha-ching, that kind of ring off the tongue, that's kind of how I came up with the name Bada Bing, right? And being a fan of The Sopranos. So it is crazy, Mike, how 25 years can blow by. You know, when we're younger and our parents are like, oh, one day, you know, my mom used to say, you don't understand, 20 years is going to go by really quick. You're like, yeah, whatever, Mom. And then now, like, I'm like, dude, my 25th high school anniversary was recently. Of course, they didn't do anything for it. But I was like, damn.
Well, I just can't believe that it's been that damn long. That's what I can't believe.
Yeah, and my understanding was you just passed, what was it, your 35th high school deal? Or 35, 30? Because you graduated like in, I think it was what, 86?
96.
86. Yeah, 86.
Yeah, 86. Okay, we'll go with 86.
Yeah. Dude, I heard you had the baddest mullet mobile and nobody would mess with you, bro.
Bro, I had a mullet that was curled. It was beautiful.
Dude, I'm telling you, if they could, I think some of these guys in the Stranger Things, I think they've taken your likeness, dude, from that era. So just be on the lookout in case you can kind of throw any lawsuit over there.
I love that show. I would never throw a lawsuit that way.
True that. Last episode recap brought to you by our family at the biggest, baddest truck show in the world, Lone Star Throwdown. It's going down next February in Conroe, Texas, the last weekend. Hit up LoneStarThrowdown.com or on social media for more information. Mike, it is sold out, but I tell people this. you will have just as much, if not more fun going to an event where you don't have a vehicle, right? You can maybe get a beer, kick back, have some fun, go out with the homies at night. You don't have to worry about anything. And a lot of times you're going to just jump back on a plane, fly home, or worst comes to worst, drive home, the next day after you slept off a damn good time in Conroe. But, Mike, they got to get out to Conroe, Texas, don't they?
That's always, bro. That's a must. And registration is already done. It's already full. So we just hope and pray that those mini trucks got in and got those mini trucks registered.
Yep. Yeah, and Mike, I talked to Lonnie, and I go, that whole idea that you had about buying like 50 of them, and then kind of that website you got set up. He goes, hey, tell Mike, pull the plug on that deal. He goes, we ain't doing any transfers, dude. Like, Mike ruined it for everyone. Oh, no, Hank ruined it.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think Hank was the one that was behind that.
Right, it was something about, switcheroo, something. But LoneStarThrowdown.com. So, Mike, I got one question for you. Are you ready?
Uh-oh. Now it's time to get serious.
Uh-oh. Bro, I have been off so long, and I'm rusty as hell.
Dude, you're going to be fine, I think, dude. We got to get you in the catbird seat. Now, listen, last week, Ruben pulled the nose up, right, on the plane because he was able to come through clutch, dude. Remember they used to call Robert Ory, I forget his nickname. Was it Big Dog Ory, Big something? I mean, Robert Ory came through some of the most clutch. I think he's got like
he came through in the biggest moments.
Yeah, he's got some like 6-7 rings. Houston, L.A., all that stuff, right? But Ruben was the Robert Ory last week. He came through big with an LL Cool J. Kind of in that era, September '90. We were talking about, Mama said knock you out. And I had a little verse in there that I had for you that I was going to talk about that time at the Spark Show, the shot that was heard around the world. But I don't want to keep beating the dead horse, So this one, Mike, is going to be fun for the Airhead Nation. I'm hoping you can get it. I don't know this stuff inside and out, but, dude, this one's, I think, maybe an easy one. What are the names of the 4 TMNTs, which are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? A beloved cartoon, Nickelodeon. I think there's a whole big story behind it, but it's still a big thing even these days.
Well, we got to start off with Michelangelo because,
yes.
And I believe there's Donatello.
Yeah.
And I believe there's Raphael.
Yeah.
And shit, you said 4. Which one am I forgetting? Donatello, Michelangelo.
His name was even on a Hammered Weekend Wear shirt.
Hank? Hank was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle?
Not Hank, but your homie. You got a homie. We got a homie in the state of Florida that is named after a TMNT. And
Scotty the Body was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle?
No, definitely not. I mean, he could be. He could have been one of the guys in the live action movie.
That's true. He was probably Splinter, though. He was probably the
old wise one. Yeah, the old wise one.
He was probably the body double for Splinter.
Splinter was OG, bro.
Was Josh Ellis one of the Teenage Mutant? Oh wait, he's not in Florida. My bad.
And we're not talking April O'Neil. She doesn't count either. Neither does Splinter.
Oh, April O'Neil. She was so hot.
It starts with an L, dude.
I already said Leonardo.
Yeah, no, you got that. No, you didn't say that one yet.
Yeah.
So you said you said Michelangelo, Donatello, Raphael, and then Leonardo. Right. So there you go. Ding, ding, ding. Because, dude, what you're now up to 2.25 again. Because remember, if you go negative, I mean, I've got your PayPal information, so we'll just transfer it. The $100 deal.
Sucked it out.
And what we're trying to do is keep the incentive there, Mike, for you to be studying at night, when you're driving, the mail truck and you're thinking of all these 80s and 90s stuff. So that's the only reason we're doing it,
10-4. Well, now just remember one thing, though. I should not ever be driving the mail truck at night.
True.
So if I'm driving the mail truck at night, there's a serious problem.
All hell's broken loose? Oh, man. Trivia with Mike brought to you by our family at AccuAir. AccuAir is back. You can order arguably the best air management suspension systems or air management in general in the industry, AccuAir.com. They've got AccuAir Life where you can submit a photo of your ride to be potentially featured in social media, but they also offer Mike new gear. So they've got shirts, all kinds of different merch. I'm a big fan of the air freshener, and it's only $5, so hit up AccuAir.com.
Absolutely. Also, a major sponsor for Eastbound Get Down, January 13th through the 15th. Pre-registration will be opening up August 31st. That, if I'm not mistaken, that's 8 days away, brother.
Dude, I can't believe it. EBGD's going down in the state of what country? I mean, county isn't in my. I mean, city isn't in, Mike.
Well, the county, I believe, is that Orange County? No, it can't be Orange County. But regardless, it's Ormond Beach, Florida. It's over at the Destination Daytona, right there off of I-95. You can't miss it. I mean, it's the world's largest Harley-Davidson dealership.
Hells yeah. So, Mike, a few more things before we roll into the audio with Craig Fraser. The scene updates, I know, again, you've been super busy. You obviously got the plug for EBGD, Eastbound Get Down. But I haven't been on social media as much, even though I was at home and I was kind of down and out, in terms of the health. I was focused on a few other things that gave me some opportunity to go through some old photos and whatnot. But, man, anything that you've kind of has piqued your interest out there as far as our truck scene fan?
Well, once again, let's give – I think you had already mentioned the Spark Show, Dizzy, Adam Tripp. Hats off to you guys. Corey, Michelle, the Boons, all those guys, everybody that is involved with the Spark Show, hats off. Congratulations. Year 9. What a success. Next year, same spot, same weekend, same bat channel, Surrealville, Tennessee, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Make sure you guys are ready for year 10. Next year will be 10 years of the Spark Show. So be ready for that. Hats off to our boy, Eddie Gordy. Went represented with his Mazda mini truck at the Atlanta Lowrider Show. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe he won Best of Show truck, I think is what it was. And so hats off for him to be able to, and with him qualifying, now I believe he gets to go to the Las Vegas Lowrider Show.
Yep.
So that's a real big deal. So that's really cool. Congratulations.
While you're thinking of the next one, Mike, I want to give a huge shout out to all of my severed ties, sisters and brothers that they descended upon Indiana for the 30th anniversary celebration. I really wish I would have been able to go this year. I ended up being sick, so even if I had been scheduled to go, I would have had to cancel, unfortunately. But I saw a ton of photos thanks to Matt Weathers, dude. I don't know if you know, Matt Weathers drove from – this is a driving fool, man. He drove from the Pacific Northwest, literally like Washington, all the way to Indiana for, a badass show. He linked up with one of the homies from Severed, Oregon, all the way across, sending me photos, videos, and I got a lot more to share. But Severed in the Midwest was awesome, and I know Toasty. Shout out to the big homie. I hate that I missed you, man. He came in from Australia, Mike. So I mean, you're talking about some gallivanting world travelers, bro.
Yeah, no shit. And the one that I was gonna say was our boy Joey.
Yes.
Just got done with his show. Attitude Check 10. So hats off to him and his whole crew for pulling that off. And we talk about his skate decks and the wraps and just everything that he does and is involved with. But to be able to put on a show for 10 years that's pretty amazing. Hey, and our boy the Custom Scene podcast, of course, was there. And had plenty of coverage and plenty of pictures, and so definitely check those guys out. But those were definitely the things that I was thinking of when you had asked about stuff on social media or just the scene in general.
Yeah, for sure. And I tell you, and Joey, keep us honest next time. It just had slipped my mind. We didn't even have it on the calendar, unfortunately. But what I did see is I saw, a lot of people that I wouldn't expect maybe I forget sometimes how far places are to go, from different states, but there was a lot of support at Sever to the Midwest, but also at Joey's show. There were a lot of people that, were saying, hey, I'm going out to Attitude Check. So, it's really good to see, even that one, it kind of fell a little bit out of our scope and we didn't hit it like we needed to. There's people out there that still know. People are on Facebook, they're on Instagram. So I encourage people, find that stuff. If you click on your phone or tap that, you're going to go to that show, a lot of times I think even Facebook now integrates and it goes, do you want to add it to your calendar? And then boom, it says what calendar, home calendar, family, whatever. So, Facebook is a very easy way to manage, what shows are out there. But it's great, Mike, to see all the continued support. Now, in addition to that, speaking of shows, Phil Fowler, we recently reran his audio, and so many people, Phil's just a great guy, but Phil had posted on August 21st, every year I think of the amazing times they had at the End of Summer Bash, 20 years of great times. So, they sunsetted, so to speak, pun intended, kind of with that, but they've sunsetted that show, but obviously a lot of memories, and that's a show I wish I had made it to over the years, and a lot of good memories, I'm told. So, Mike, I think that's going to do it for the scene updates this week. If there's anything that we missed, we'll hit you back next week with those. We want to thank Garage Gear Clothing. The holidays are coming, as I said earlier, and there's one of the best brands out there that covers the men, the ladies, the kids. And you can go to garagegearclothing.com, and one of the unique aspects is they offer free shipping in the U.S. They're constantly refreshing the site. Please, if you can, order some merch before the end of the year. Let them know OLP sent you, and they will take care of you the best they can. So, Mike, next we got the key show updates, and this one's going to just be kind of what we reiterated last week. So, unfortunately, we did miss covering Joey's show. We'll make sure we hit upon that next year. But in 2 weeks is Dropped and Destroyed. So you can go out on their Instagram. It's like DROPT out.com is their official Instagram. But that is in Uniontown, Ohio. It's Dropped and Destroyed. That same weekend is Static Nationals. So Rogersville, Tennessee. And that is, I think, the Friday-Saturday deal, I believe. That's on our OLP calendar. You can subscribe, go to ourlifestylepodcast.com. On the left, click the digital show calendar. Once you click on there, tap here, and if you've got an iPhone, it'll let you subscribe to the calendar. The weekend after that is Lowdown in Laughlin, and I know that is tied into Seductive Minis. They've got more information, including an official site out there to buy your tickets. I think that's it for the key show updates this week. Thank you so much to the West Coast Influence. If you didn't know, now you know. You can go to minitruckfilm.com. You heard that right. minitruckfilm.com. Order the Blu-ray or DVD. Let Radar know that we sent you. He'll take care of you the best he can. And they're great folks. Add it to the collection. Again, holidays coming. There's no excuse for you to be a mini trucker and not own this Blu-ray or DVD. Mike, any podcast updates for him?
Bro, only thing I got to say is be on the lookout. OBI, Orange Beach Invasion, dates for 2023 will be announced very, very soon. Talked to Lauren the other day, and make sure you get in and get your spots on the main course, and just be on the lookout because Aftermath is coming hard this year, brother. I'm telling you, this is our show. And there's going to be a whole bunch of Aftermath at OBI next year. So this is our favorite show, hands down. One of the best venues you could possibly go to in the whole scene. So make sure you guys stay tuned and pay attention to these dates for OBI because that will be opening up. The registration will be opening up here pretty damn soon.
Yeah, I can't wait. And we got to give a huge shout out to Custom Car Show Productions. That includes Scraping the Coast, Bayou Showdown, Orange Beach Invasion, of course, three of the most fun shows you'll go to out there. And, of course, we can't wait for OBI. I know there's a lot of people anxiously awaiting for dates, the new website and things like that. So big shout-out to Orange Beach Invasion. That's going to be probably mid to later in March next year. But, again, we'll have more information, as Mike mentioned. Mike, we did have one more review. This was Bert Harvey. Thank you for the show. I enjoy every episode. Grew up with mini trucks, lowriders, reading and collecting mini trucking and trucking. Y'all are bringing back the great memories and letting it be known. So thank you so much, Bert. Huge shout out, homie. Bert Harvey. Stay on the rise, my brother. And we appreciate you tuning in, man. Mike, that's going to do it for the podcast updates this week. Airhead Nation updates, dude. Listen, there's been a lot going on out there. There's a lot of good people, all the listeners, and we just want to give, again, I'll just say a big shout out to everyone. One of our most loyal followers, and he's on one of our shirts, kind of that OLP verse, as I call it, is William Spear. And William, Mike, I don't know if you saw this. He hung out with us at Mini Nats, one of our favorite shows, every April in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. But, dude, you remember he drove all the way across the country. He trailered his beautiful lifted Toyota, okay? He posted the other day, Mike, and said, I met my biological father yesterday. This was on the 18th he posted it. For the first time, and today we were at a gun shop. We found out about each other back in May. We've been talking on the phone every week since. So yesterday he surprised me. I have two sisters too. I will meet one of them in November, if not both. And Mike, you talk about an Airhead Nation update. You know, of course, giving a whole shout out to everyone. But this one is a huge, good feeling. I mean, dude, imagine that, dude. William Spear, one of the best guys you'll meet out there, a great mini trucker, and what a good feeling for him.
Oh, absolutely. Something like that is definitely a special moment, and that's really cool that he shared it with everybody and on social media.
With that being said, we want to give a huge shout out to Hammered Weekend Wear. That's HAMMERD, weekendwear.com. They got some of the coolest shirts and apparel in the industry. They feature what kind of builds, Mike?
I do believe it's real builds.
Real builds. If you don't want to take our word for it, hit up HAMMERD, weekendwear.com. They've got new hats, Dig the Lowness, Code Red, you name it. Sticker packs available, banners. They've got a lot of cool stuff. Show them some love. Mike, I think that's it. We are going to roll into new audio, although this should have been our week off. We did kind of owe an update. I know you've been out busy. I've been a little under the weather, so we kind of owed that update. We're probably going to roll with the best of maybe next week and possibly the week after. We'll see. But can't wait for everyone to hear the new audio with Craig Fraser and Mike. They just got to stay tuned.
Sounds like a plan, brother. Appreciate it. Thanks for everything you do. And Airhead Nation, everybody, stay low and stay out of trouble.
We got you. We'll hit you next week. Later, Mike.
All right, brother. See ya.
Hey, it's ODB. We're getting ready to roll into Craig Fraser's audio. Just a reminder, this is brand new audio. So although we had Craig on in the past and we did recently run his audio as a best of, we have sat back down with him, and man, it is a fun interview. So stick with us if you're on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. We really appreciate it. This interview is brought to you by our family at Custom Car Show Productions, which, as you heard earlier, it includes several events: Scraping the Coast, Bayou Showdown, and, of course, Orange Beach Invasion. One thing that Craig wanted me to do, I know we kind of got off on a tangent talking about a lot of stuff. He said, hey, do me a favor. I forgot to give a huge shout-out to Pirate. Pirate is one of his right-hand guys over at Daniel's Woodland. You will hear us talk about that. They had a TV show for a while, and they've expanded, and they're doing some cool stuff. So without further ado, thank you guys so much for the support. Stick with us. This is a really fun interview, and we'll hit you guys next week. Stay on the rise. We out of here. Hey, as I mentioned, super excited to sit down with Craig Fraser again. And it's been a few years, and Craig, I just wanted to say, hey, thank you so much for taking the time to come back on Our Lifestyle Podcast.
Hey, my pleasure, man. I had a blast last time. It doesn't seem like it's been a few years since just the other day.
I know, time flies, man. And, you know, last time we talked about so much cool stuff, but I kind of wanted to just start and say, you know, I follow you closely on some of the cool things you've always got going on. And you never cease to amaze me on you know, the hustle that you got and whatnot. But, you know, kind of maybe give us a few updates. Like, what have you been up to the last couple years?
Well, Yeah, that's a lot. I remember in the last podcast I made a comment about you had talked about I mentioned diversity and changing things up and making sure, because if you just keep doing the same thing over and over again, you'll just get bored and burned out. And I wasn't bored or burned out in the automotive industry, and I was having a great time still working with Dion at Kal Koncepts, and I still do. I still work with them. But I just was kind of looking for something else, and I had already started working with Disney as a licensed artist back then. I think I just gotten, no, I can't remember if I just got signed on or not when I first talked to you, but I was doing stuff for Acme and Lucasfilm, and then also with Disney. And when I was doing the 50th anniversary Mansion guitars, what I did for Mark Vinorek, I met these guys, Ron and John Daniels from Daniels Woodland, and with the Arts, a scenic company over at Paso Robles, and they specialize in they do a lot of shooting galleries, but real high-end, fully animatronic shooting galleries. They also do tree houses. A lot of people may have remember seeing a show on TV called Redwood Kings,
Yes.
and that was their show. And they also do scenic work for Disney and all the big theme parks, as well as restaurants and other companies out there, and really produce a lot of really interesting fine artwork and stuff. It's more than just, tree houses or wood, even though their name is Daniels Woodland. And I had met him there because he had a bunch of 50th anniversary pieces we were releasing there during the anniversary event. And I started talking, and I started doing some work for him on the side, mostly just airbrushing. But he brought me in to do some work for Great Wolf Lodge, painting some dragons, and doing some large-scale murals and large-scale painting of different items. And I was just mostly working as a freelance artist at the time. And then it was really easy. It was like an hour and a half away from Bakersfield. So I was working on a project for a local winery, Kilvin James Winery. It was actually a 3D printed crow, a big 6-foot long one, and he wanted it painted. And we were talking, and he said, "Why don't you just come and work for us?"
Wow.
And I was like, "Well, I kind of already am." And they're like, "No, we want to bring you in as the creative director and project manager here." And so it would need me moving, and it was a big step up. And plus, funny thing is, I even told them this. I said, I haven't clocked in on a job at a company that had a time clock for me since '87.
Wow.
And that was Mervyn's, and you know what happened to that store. So I don't know. Do you really want to take a chance with me on this? And it was just kind of funny, and I didn't take it seriously at first. And I had at that time also been looking at possibly working with Createx, and I had mentioned in our last podcast,
Mm-hmm.
I was doing a lot of product design and development for companies, and one of the ones with paint, as well as House of Color, but Createx I was doing a lot of work with. Well, Createx actually wanted me to move out to Connecticut and start working with them. And so I had a couple of different offers. And then I also was looking at possibly going to Vegas and working with a buddy of mine that has a custom shop out there, just looking to just kind of do something a little bit different.
Yep.
Simon was out of school. He was looking to go to Cal Poly, my son Simon. And this job just opened up really kind of an interesting opportunity where we decided to give it a shot. So Donna stayed back and got the house all ready to sell or not sell in case I changed my mind. And for about 2 or 3 months, I lived in a fifth wheel trailer behind the shop at Daniels Woodland.
Wow.
And Simon came out with me because all of a sudden Simon's kind of interested in working there. So I got him a job just really being low level painter and possibly doing some stuff with a 3D printer. Next thing you know, he's actually running a 3D print shop.
Wow.
He turned out to really know a lot more than people gave him credit for. And the 3D printer guy that he had there had left to go do other things. So Simon took over. And if you know much about 3D printing, we have a massive at 1800, which is one of the largest 3D printers out there. It's got a build base of about 4 foot by 4 foot by 6 foot tall.
Wow.
You can stand inside this 3D printer. And we can actually print life-size mannequins with it, and it's fast. It's really fast, and it's a pretty high-end, pretty nice machine. We use it quite a bit for our jobs, and Simon just took to that right away. So it was me and Simon living. I used to make jokes, and people say, "Well, where are you staying here in Paso?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm living in a van down by the river." I gave the whole Chris Farley, it was a running joke. We decided to stay. We found a nice piece of property up near Lake Nacimiento, right above Paso. It's Central Coast wine country. It's nice. So it's kind of funny. I tell people it's like retiring, but actually working a lot more. And I never thought I thought I'd worked hard in the past. This was one of the hardest jobs because, man, 30 years of freelancing. And granted, me and Dion, we'd always work together on things. We always did our own thing.
Yep.
The most I had underneath me was maybe 10 or 20 people at SEMA or at a trade show. But that was for a couple of weeks, and they're going, I don't do it anymore. So here's a little bit different. I got a couple of departments that I manage here, as well as I still do the art directing, and I do a lot of the creative development of products. But it's just really kind of fun. If people want to go online, our website, I'm not a web designer. We're looking to actually improve on the current site, but just danielswoodland.com or check out our Instagram page, and you can see some of the stuff we do. We're going to be upgrading a little bit more. We're going to create an entire page just for the 3D print department. But
and what is it again? Because it was a little hard to hear there. So say the website one more time.
Oh, danielswoodland.com. It's just Daniels, Wood, and Land.
Yep, got it. Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. And like you said, those were the guys that were behind that show that was the Redwood Tree Show. And like all of those commissions and stuff they were doing, that was like one small thing they were doing at that time, my understanding.
Yeah, these started out doing chainsaw carving and doing the trees, and then started doing the high-end shooting galleries. And then it just kind of blew up from there. And so they built a new facility over in Paso from their old shop. So by the time I had worked for them was at their old shop. So it was during COVID where the kind of shut down the shop because everything shut down. Disney shut down, Universal shut down, but was kind of they kind of pivoted. They started making gowns for the hospitals and for the government. I think it's called PPE or whatever.
Right,
the PPE.
right.
Yeah. So they went into doing that, and they went from a 60-person shop that cranked out scenic items for theme parks to they got 2 more buildings, and they were up as high as 2,000 employees, cranking out about 420,000 gowns a week.
Holy crap! Like gowns for like hospitals and stuff, just so everyone knows.
Hospital gowns, yeah. And so they did that, and that literally carried them through COVID, and it allowed them to come in and start doing some of the scenic work. And where a lot of companies really just had to close the doors because of COVID, they were able to keep theirs open because of that. And plus they had a lot of little customers. Everything from Disney came back, Universal came back, everyone came back.
Yeah.
It's still coming back to an extent, So that's pretty much it. And people that ask me, so you don't paint cars anymore. I'm like, no, in the meantime, I still, when Dion needs me, I zip over to Bakersfield, and if I have to stay a couple of days, I either stay at my in-laws or we still live in Bakersfield, or Dion can always bring the motor home by the shop and I'll just crash there. It's not like I was a stranger to staying in a van down by the river. So I can literally, I'll do that anytime. And we cranked out a Corvette, one of the newer Corvettes for, I don't care what names. He's the guy that has the Drop as a Kid truck. And then he also, and this Corvette's kind of cool. It's a dual personality Corvette. You look at one side, it's candy purple, and the other side are insane, just nutcase graphics. Very similar to the murals and graphics I did on the Drop as a Kid.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, going back to like what we talked about before and what we're talking about now, like the importance of being able to pivot and move, and not everybody maybe has that ability, right? Depending on their trade and stuff. But I mean, certainly people can learn new things, and like you said, like to maybe. We often hear stuff like where we talk about going outside your comfort zone a little bit. Maybe you take a job that you're like, man, do I really want to be on the clock and that type of thing? But like you've kind of proven, and so has, Daniels Woodland, that, you have to be, if you can do that and you can adapt to your environment, like how successful oftentimes people come out on the other side of things. So
yeah, you made a comment on not everyone can do that. And I disagree. Not everyone likes to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in fact, if you like to do it, you're probably a sociopath. Change is necessary. People that like change tend to be like, there's the kind of people that love change, and those little anarchists who love to watch the world burn. Change sucks, but it's inevitable. If you're not going to be the reason for change, or you're not going to be the person instituting change, or at least the person riding the wave of change, you're going to be a person beat over the head by it. It's going to happen, no matter what. And it actually takes more energy to keep things the same, to keep things at the status quo, takes a lot more energy than to change. I use the analogy of dog paddling. Dog paddling is not swimming. That's why it's not an Olympic event. It all it does is keep you alive, hoping someone will come and rescue you. That's not a strategy. That's circling the wagons. That's absolutely the worst strategy known to mankind.
Yep.
So the thing is that, you use more energy dog paddling if you were just swimming. And in swimming, you can at least go in a direction. Even if it's wrong, hey, you're still expending less energy, and at least you're moving. So I tell people, I go, change can be scary. It's not always the best thing. You always have alternatives. There's always, when people say, I'm not saying like uproot everything. I went there for 3 months, and I was fully prepared to leave if it didn't work out. I was fully prepared to go back to Bakersfield. I was fully prepared to do something else. And but I remember when I started working with Kal Koncepts and being on back in the early 90s, when things got tough, I always, back in my head, I always had an alternative. I could always go back to architecture. I could always move back to Italy. I could always go back to doing something else I liked doing before, but the reason I wasn't doing it any longer is I was kind of bored of it.
Yep.
And so that's the one thing is if you know where you came from, then you're not afraid to have to go back if you need to. But you at least should look forward to change. And I had it's funny because the first week I started here, I came back. I was coming back every weekend. I would work here all week, and on the weekends I'd come back to Bakersfield. So I did that like literally for 3 months. And when I was coming back, one of my buddies that I grew up with in high school said, "Hey, we're having a party. We're gonna get together." These guys would always get together, and for some reason, most of my friends from back in the 80s, they were all in the professions like firemen, first responders, police officers. They worked for the penal, for the prisons, or they were ambulance drivers. For some reason, everyone kind of went into those directions, those professions that are usually 20 to 25. You're out with killer pension and you're loving life. So they would always joke whenever we talked. They'd always talk about their work and their job and their 9 to 5 and whatever. And then it would be like, "Oh yeah, Fraser. He doesn't work. He just paints. He just moves off. He's casing trucks." And they never took me seriously because my job to them. They did take me seriously, but my job to them was what their hobby was. They would work on a car on the weekend, and I'd work on the car all week. And I would always make jokes saying, "Yeah, you work on the car in your garage until you screw it up, you bring it to my shop and fix it." And so they were like, "So what are you going to do when you retire?" I'm like, "Well, actually, I just got a job." And they were like, "That's so freaking typically." It's like, "Really? Yeah, that's how you roll." Yeah. So I go, "Yeah, it's like it worked. I could be there at a certain time and everything. It's even got insurance, and dental plans." Weird.
Yeah, it's cool how things open up, and I wanted to dovetail into that because it's kind of the same thing, and you kind of mentioned earlier and through the name Disney and Acme and Lucasfilms and stuff. But I tell you, if someone hasn't watched yet, I've long been a big fan of Back to the Future and all the Steven Spielberg's works and all this stuff. But I always knew about Industrial Light and Magic, and I didn't know all the ins and outs on exactly why it was started. I assume because of Star Wars and all that. But for folks, if you do have Disney Plus, you got to watch Industrial Lights. And man, it is an amazing series, dude. If you haven't seen it yet.
Well, any of the Imagineering episodes,
yes,
also for Disney are amazing to watch. We literally we have Disney Plus running 24/7 in one of the monitors in the back of the van where Johnny's carving or the guys are doing artwork and stuff, and at the shop. It's that's like a big part about those. That channel is actually just a documentary. Aspects of it, and because a lot of people forget about some of the original people that created these programs. But the way they all created them is they were probably afraid to change, but they still did it anyway.
Yeah.
You just can't be scared of it. It's like there's nothing really to be scared of. I used to always make jokes like, "What are they going to do? Kill me?" No. It's like, "I don't know if I don't like it, go do something else." So many people get so wrapped up in like, "Oh, I can't fail." It's like, what are you talking about? That's the only true path to success is failure. And people freak out when I say that. And they're like, "We're talking about, I'm the biggest failure in the room." I go, "I own failure. Just fail upwards. Fail better."
Yeah.
And they're like, "What are you talking about?" I go, "No, if you're going to fail, you'll heard that joke. If you're going to screw something up, own it." Well, that's the same thing. If you're going to fail, own it. Do it. If you're successful at something without failing, you either, A, very lucky, B, did something really simple, so who can, anyone can do it, or C, stole it from someone else. If you haven't failed somewhere along, the path of failure leads to the best success. And it sounds unusual, but it's just the way it is. And I didn't invent that. That's a phrase that's been around forever. I think Walt even had a couple of quotes concerning failure. You always heard that story. First, you don't succeed, try again. That's kind of lame because it just seems like you're just trying to convince someone to just keep on trying, get back up on that horse, rub some dirt on and walk it off. Whatever those colloquialisms are, the base reality is, well, are you just going to quit? Because people say, well, sometimes what if something just doesn't work out? You eventually quit. I go, no, I eventually stop. I don't quit. I'll use every alternative. I'll try every single thing. I'll beat that horse to death before I realize, okay, I'm either going to change the direction a little bit, change my emphasis, or I'll stop doing this and I'll do something else. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to just quit and waste energy on it. I'm going to just get as much out of that R&D as possible. And that's the way you have to look at it. And every one of your failures, if you don't learn from your failures, that's a sad situation because that's a better teacher than any book or any course you could ever take at any university.
Yeah,
is failure. But so many people are scared of failing. They're afraid of the public stigma of failing. They're afraid of they'll work on a TikTok video more than they'll work on their career.
Right.
And they'll make sure that TikTok video is perfect. I go, and I'm not going to make fun of TikTok and say you can't do anything with it because that'd be stupid. There's a lot of people that have. Mm-hmm. But that's what I'm saying. Anyone can get a TikTok video. Anyone can go viral with TikTok. So if you can do that, and yeah, maybe you did 500 shots of that 10-second video before you got to win your life. Well, what prevented you from doing that with something else in your life that actually, it doesn't matter more, it matters at least just as much. Mm-hmm. And so that's just the way it is. People will get really good at playing slot machines. To the point where they'll spot the right slot machine. They know how this, they know the algorithm, whatever. And I always laugh with these professional gamblers that they actually took that motivation. Now, granted, they like to do it. They want to do it. It's
sure.
a passion there. If they can apply it to something else, they're going to find out that all the years of gambling, you can just work for a living, try to make the same amount of money. But if you love gambling, do it. If you're good at it, you love it, do it. I'm not going to say not to.
Yep.
Unless you're in the street and you're homeless, and you have no work whatsoever, you still love it. Well, then you got a problem.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Michael Jordan, famously said, I missed 9,000 shots in my career, lost 300 games 26 times. Yeah. I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot, yada, yada, yada. And he said that, I failed over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed. And I think that's the key thing that, going back to the whole change thing, there's a book that, circulated, still does, like in the corporate world, Who Moved My Cheese, right? It's a basic concept.
Oh, yeah.
But as you know, and you kind of hit upon some of those things earlier, and I think that's something that's really key for people, whether you're a mini trucker or you're a painter or a customizer. I've seen people's shops like really grow and thrive, like when they go outside their comfort zone and they talk to new clients, or they go to a show maybe that isn't their normal MO, but they go to a show, they meet a new client, and I think that networking and stuff too is such a huge thing for people.
Well, you just want to be inbred. Mini trucking, and this is my opinion, which is my opinion. Mini trucking came about because the custom industry became inbred. And all of a sudden it had some offshoots. There's people that didn't have the money to play at a certain level. There's people that got sick of seeing the same cars over and over again. People got sick of seeing certain paint jobs over and over again. Mm-hmm. And so it was more grassroots. And you could always argue it's the same thing, the chopper craze and the rat rock craze and the different crazes that have popped up throughout the years. If you look at them, they're all based on when customizing, which if you really look at the definition of custom, anything is not stock, something is not factory, something is custom. And then we even customize the word custom and put a K in front of it to make it even more special because all of a sudden factories started making things with the word custom in it. We're like, that's no fair, And so when customizing becomes the standard, then something else has to become the new standard. Something has to become the new custom. Vans back in the day, I think I made a comment about this. I say this a lot. I probably said it on your last podcast. When the van industry died out, it was literally because everyone had them. almost people are customizing all these vehicles and customizing all these cars and all the crazy cars that came out in the 60s and 70s. And the van craze got to the point where, remember El Capitan Van's logo? They had a logo that was like, we'll put a custom van in the garage. That's also the name on the topic. Mm-hmm. Because when everything is custom, then what becomes special? It's like that, was it The Incredibles? When everybody's special, no one is special. Well, when everything is custom, then what's going to be the norm? And what's the biggest offshoot of the custom industry from the 70s and 80s? It was the restoration industry of putting everything back to stock. And that became, to this day, NOS and all those stock parts. Well, when that kind of started going crazy, the mini truck kind of came out there as side shoots. Like, okay, we're going to do something different. I'm not going to customize this car like my dad did or my uncle did or someone or Ed Rock did. I'm going to do my own thing. And there's a little bit of anarchy in all customizers because you're going against stock. And that's one of the reasons I love the industry so much. And when it changes and goes and some people say, well, do you turn your back on the industry? I'm like, no. I go, how can you turn your back on a round room? I mean, the custom industry is wherever you want it to be. Wherever you go, you make it custom. When I started working with Ron Daniels here at Daniels Woodland, we were at one of our final talks when we were signing all the papers and stuff. And he was like, you may look to regret this. And I'm like, and I'm like, I can say the same thing for you. He's like, well, there's been a lot of changes. And I'm like, no, there's not. I'm not changing anything. I go, I didn't come to you. You hired me. And it was kind of a joke. And I wasn't being mean about it. I wasn't being a jerk about it. But it was the truth. Is that he hired me for a reason. He hired me because I just jump up and down and do whatever you tell me to do.
Yeah.
At the same time, I had my own clients, my own things, my own ideas. And the whole deal was I still get to work for Disney. I still get to do my own stuff. As long as it's not a conflict of interest. I'm not going to go work for a competitor and bid against myself.
Yeah.
But it was impossible to say no to that kid. Even Dion was like, no, you're an idiot. You should no to it. But at the same time, Dion's worked for Daniels Woodland also. I had him come out on a job that I was working on. We were doing something for EA Sports. We were building this is before I even worked there. I was doing some other stuff for Daniels. This is 3 years back. And Dion came out to do the bodywork on a horse speeder. It was a Star Wars horse speeder. He built an exact replica, but all metal. Mm. And it was really badass, and Dion had to do some bodywork on it. And so he came out for a couple of days, brought the trailer, and stayed there and worked on that. So he's worked for him also. And the understanding is we've got a couple of jobs down the road that are going to be automotive. We got some interesting customers I can't really talk about now because they're kind of NDA with clients, but Dion and Lad are going to be on those things major. So the same way that Dion's got some stuff lined up, I got to go over to town probably the next couple of weekends and do some stuff with him too.
Yep, exactly. It's smart. We're talking with Craig Fraser from Craig Fraser Studios and so much more, of course. Interesting points you made a few minutes ago, and I appreciate, the discussion there. I'm curious about something that you kind of ventured off and did. I really enjoyed This May End Badly with Craig Fraser. Can you talk to us a little bit about it, man? Because it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. I had a buddy of mine, Justin Shank. He had one of the, I think it's number 5th podcast in the nation or something. If you ever want to check it out, it's the Growth Now Movement by Justin Shank. He has great guests on there. And I've known him for a little while. We met at a convention called The Thing, and it was like an entrepreneur's convention that Terry Weaver puts on. If you want to check that out, it's called The Thing, and it's a convention that a lot of entrepreneurs go to, great speakers. And we met, and we're talking, because, man, you have to get a podcast. And then Terry Weaver, who runs The Thing, and who's also a good friend of mine, he's also, and he's kind of one of my mentors. I get a lot of good advice from him. And I always tell people, if you have a mentor, I guarantee he does too. If you have one mentor, your mentor probably has 5. Mm-hmm. You need people that, and you don't need to learn from someone up on a fucking peak in India or something, some Tibetan monk or something. You can learn from somebody. I have some mentors that are younger than me. I have a couple of my students that have mentored me in certain things that they've just like, holy crap, you can see the forest, because I couldn't because the trees were in the damn way. And Terry runs the Walt Disney World podcast for Disney, and that's a huge podcast.
Wow.
And he said, you need to really do one. Just because there's just something wrong with the way that you do things. He would make jokes about me, saying he introduced me at events and say, this is Craig Fraser. He's he would call me the demotivational speaker. because I come out there and I would just do everything completely backwards.
Right.
And I would just go up and just do my own thing. And he goes, Craig doesn't have a filter. And he goes, and that's good. He goes, so we started out, and I remember talking to Terry, and I go, I don't even know what I would call it. He said, so self-serving to have your podcast. I go, plus it's probably not going to do well. It's not going to end badly. And Terry goes, that's it. This may end badly. And instantly I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. This doesn't sound like too much fun. And I hooked up with my buddy, Ricky Bird, who owns Hectic Films in Bakersfield. If anyone is into really cool B movies and short indie films, he's one of the best indie filmmakers I know, which is kind of funny because I only know a few anyway. But he produced Naked Zombie Girl. He's produced a number of great movies out of Bakersfield. And I've done some production work with him and also had done some storyboarding and done things with him. So I talked him into working with me on the podcast. And I wanted to be not just it was a live podcast, but it wanted to be video too. And that proposed some really interesting problems. So we had a couple of programs that don't like each other that we jerry-rigged into working. And yeah, we had technical problems from the very beginning. And we had technical problems until the last episode, which I think was 65. I only wanted to go 1 year to give it a try.
Uh-huh.
And I ended up going to do 65 episodes. It just got to the point where I had to make a decision. And I was still doing the podcast when I moved here to Paso.
Yep.
And it made it difficult because I love doing it in the studio with Ricky in front of me. And Ricky's on one side of the monitor and I'm on the other. And Simon was off to the side doing production notes with me. So it was great. We had some really good, really interesting guests on their show. And you can still, if you guys want to check it out, it's called This May End Badly. You can find them on YouTube, and you can subscribe on YouTube to it. And so, I say we did 65 episodes. I think only maybe 62 were actually online because we're still figuring out YouTube and everything else. And but it was good. I've had people say, "Oh, why'd you stop the podcast?" It got to the point where I had to make a decision, and I either have to. I'm not going to. If I have two cars, I want to make badass, and I don't have the time. I'm not going to make one look great and one look like shit. I'm definitely not going to make both of them look half-ass. I'm going to have to say no. You get to the point where you have to say no. My wife brought it up. She's actually one of my best mentors. She was like, "There's only so much time in the day that you can." You're going to have to say no to some things. And so it was difficult to say no because it was fun, but it was the most stressful thing I did outside of my work because it was out of my element. And I swear I'm a masochist because when I'm out of my element, I have a blast killing myself doing it. And it was really fun, but it just also was to make it to monetize it, I would have to take it to another level. And we were sponsored. We had sponsors, so it didn't cost me any money. But what it did is it cost me time. And if everyone knows it, money is great, but time is more valuable than money because you can always make money. Can't make time. So I had to say no to it. I never did the last episode, which means, I can always come back. I can always bring it back down the road. And I might. I'll always tell people, I don't burn bridges. I just slightly scorch them a little bit, make them on advertisement. I never burn them. I always want to make sure I have a little something that can go back to the fun. So if anyone wants to check them out, they're really they were fun. I just got bummed. I never got a chance to have you on the podcast. I was gonna have you and Mickey Mike on there sometime.
Yeah, no, that would have been cool. But to your point,
I'll tell you what. If I start up again. You're my first freaking guest, dude.
Oh man,
you're my first.
You're far too kind, man. I'm not that cool. But I think you bring up a good point because something I've had to do the past couple of years is we all love social media. I'm on Instagram a little too much, looking at Lincolns or mini trucks. But I've also had to peel away and say, look, sometimes we'll go on Facebook and I'm like, oh, I want to look at something, and I'm on there 10 minutes and I'm like, what was I looking for again? Oh yeah. So I've had to back down certain things, and some of my friends are like, well, you're not on social media much, or I don't see you post stuff. And I was like, you have to kind of figure out kind of what we're talking about, what's most important, whether it's the podcast or growing your business or focusing, right? So I encourage people to do that. If there's things that you can slice a little bit of time and you start going to night school, or you start learning something new, or taking an online program, or school or whatever. Like you can always, like you said, you can always squeeze time. But when people say, and I try not to say this when somebody goes, well, they ask me a question and I go, well, I've got no time. I can't do that. Like we could all, like you could quit your job and have time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I always, kind of piggybacking off what you said earlier, it's like you really have to like focus on, where does your time and energy really need to go in that day, in that age, So.
Yeah, well, there's an interesting quote. I don't know who said it to me. It was that you are the sum total of 5 people you spend the most time with. And when I say the 5 people, they don't have to be people. That can be Facebook. That can be Instagram. That can be TikTok. That can be video games. But if you divvy up your day and you figure out the 5 people or items that you spend the most time with, that is you, whether you like it or not. And now it's either you because it reflects you, which makes people feel good. But the reality is, you will become the 5 things you spend the most time around, whether you like it or not, which means if you're around toxic individuals or toxic environment, you will become that. Mm-hmm. You won't know why. You won't even see it coming, and there's nothing you can do about it but stop. You can't just say, oh, well, I'll add this much good stuff in my life and because I really like that negative. I really like that one. You waste a lot of time on this. I'll just spend more time doing this instead. Nah, one bad apple ruins a barrel. But last time I checked, if you put a good apple with a bunch of bad ones, you don't magically get freaking better.
Yeah.
And that's the thing you have to realize is you have to eliminate toxicity. Otherwise, it will slowly just bend you to the point where yeah. And you say getting hit with a hammer is not good, but after a while, you don't mind it as much. It's not because the hammer is hitting you less. It's because all of a sudden you rationalized it and accepted it, and it's still doing the damage. You just don't know it.
Oh yeah.
So that can get you, and that was it. I didn't have a lot of everyone always wants to hear the horror stories. They always want to know what happened. Why'd you leave the industry? And I'm like, something, I had that back when, my first major was computer science with a minor in music. And I had people thought I was going to go into a career in music. And they're like, whatever happened? And then when I left computer science and went to aeronautical engineering, they're like, oh, what happened? And I got bored. I tried something different. I want to do something different. Leaving aeronautics and going to architecture in the 80s was easy. McDonnell Douglas laid off 2,000 people in 1986. I didn't have a job waiting for me. My grandfather worked there, and I had a job waiting. Nope, not anymore. So I went to architecture instead, went to Cal Poly. Everything is cause and effect. And if you're not instrumental in making the change, you're still going to deal with the effect. It's just a lot better. I personally, I like driving cars. I don't like sitting in the back of a car for a couple of reasons. So I sit in the back of the car, I get car sick. But also, I like being in control. If you see me driving passenger and someone else is driving, because I can completely trust that person. Otherwise, I don't like it. And it's not me being in control. It's me understanding the fact that I will completely accept my own consequences. But I don't like accepting other people's. So, when you're making those changes, it goes back to that thing I mentioned earlier. Because so many people they're just like, oh, this person's making me change. I go, are they making you change, or are you just refusing to change?
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying, because some people will try and make you change into something you don't want to do, and they'll try and convince you.
Oh yeah.
Other times, you may think this person's trying to change me. In reality, they're just trying to help you. And trust me, after a while, they'll stop.
Yeah, it's good. Great points.
Yeah, and if you can't help yourself, if you're depending on other people to help you, well, that's nice. But you're a charity case, pretty much. If you can't make your own change, if you can't recognize it, you can't spot the problem. Yeah, then you've been sitting in your own brand too long. You're buying your own hype. Use whatever analogy you want. You basically just create a gross rationalization for failure. And then when things go wrong, you're just like, oh. And then I'm always amazed by people that get all depressed and sad, and they're like, and I always make jokes. I always say, I'm a cynical, and they're like, what's that? That doesn't make any sense. That's an oxymoron. Cynical? You're a cynic and an optimist? Like, no, I'm a cynical optimist, which means I believe that everything's going to go wrong. I don't just have a plan A or a plan B. I got a plan freaking Z.
Yeah.
And when something goes wrong, I'm like, hey, look, I already kind of planned for that. I may have contingency for it, but even if I don't have a contingency for it, I at least have so many other plans I can think on my feet on how to deal with the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I deal with it, and look how smart I am. When things go right, Christmas came around. I can't tell you how many depressing individuals I've met that are optimists because they're just 100% optimistic without anything to back it. And then when things go wrong, they turn around. They're the kind of people that go, "Why do you hate me, God? What? God hates me. Why am I doing this? The world is against me." No, it's not. The world's just not going to do everything for you. You just kind of came out a little bit late to the game on that one. So, and it sounds kind of mean-spirited to say this to people, but at my age, if I'm talking to people my age, I was like,
yeah,
you haven't figured it out. Just go to the retirement community.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, great points. Again, you could write a motivational book, and it's
honestly
really cool.
Everything I just said is probably in a dozen motivational books.
Right. Yeah, and that sometimes they just re-say it. And after you were on the first time, I remember people commenting and telling me, they go, "Man, Craig could easily be a life coach for anyone." And I said, yeah, it's a lot of positive words, but I wanted to hit upon this cool thing. So on gotpaint.com, the old site.
Oh, dude, that thing's old. It's still there. I refuse to let it die. Not that I haven't tried to kill it, but now I just want to keep it there to see how long something. I mean, I swear, there's some stuff in there from I have Front Page's beta program in there. Still.
Wow.
I mean, when I start, I'll tell you right now, there's not another website in the custom industry that's as old as that one. I started that one in 1994.
Wow.
In 1994, and people say, "Well, why don't you keep it up?" I don't even know if I can actually get into it anymore. That's like 20 versions of Dreamweaver ago for me. I'm like archaic now, and I don't even know if I want to get it. I want to leave it the way it is. So if people say, "Oh, this is broken," I go, "You found only one thing broken on that site?" Jeez.
Yeah, that's it.
It's my Chernobyl. It's my Chernobyl of online data. I'm just worried it's going to start leaking into the system, and then I'll have to be accountable for it.
Yeah, they're gonna hit you one day and say, "Do you know this website's got all kinds of secret codes?" You're like, "I don't know."
It does. It's got so much crap on there and stuff, and we had all kinds of fun with that internet. That website.
That's good times. Well, it's kind of a small world. So our friend Josh Ellis, he owned the Look That Kills for a while, and he has sold the truck, and we had Jeff Goddard on and whatnot. But the small world is that, like, you guys at Kal Koncepts Air Syndicate, you guys were really good friends with Doug DeBerti, and when Doug, being that he lived where his business was at is stone's throw from where Josh was at. So we were able to have Doug on, and Brad, jumped on the podcast one time too as well. But it's so cool to look back at some of the old photos, and you talked a little bit about it, but now I've seen more of the photos and stuff of like the epic stuff that they created, that you guys created, and then like even Doug still got some of the old like billet weight benches and billet, palm trees and stuff. I mean, it's really crazy. Oh. And you guys are on separate sides, but I mean, dude, what an amazing guy he is. Oh no, Doug's a great guy. Doug cracks me up. Or we always call him Daddy. He can always get mad. Call him Daddy Doug. And even though he's actually younger than me, but no, the fun thing about Doug is Doug would come up with ideas, and I always like to think I'm creative. But Doug would come up with an idea, and I'd be like, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. That's just stupid." And I remember he's like, "Check out this hitch ball I'm going to do. The giant billet hitch ball. It was like the size of a magic ball. This big billet hitch ball." He goes, "It covers up your hitch." I go, "The point of covering up your hitch ball is so you're covering up your hitch ball, not elaborating your hitch ball." I go, "That just doesn't make any sense." I go, "It's dumb. No one's going to buy it." He made a fortune selling that giant billet hitch ball. Yep. I do remember that.
Yeah, and then he had those antennas, little billet antennas. And I'm an old stereo. I'm a stereo audiophile. I love stereos. I love all the when the double diversity tuners came out, Pioneer, all this kind of stuff. So when I put a car stereo in the car, I went to work, and he had these bitchin' looking billet antennas that sucked. I'm like, this is not a good antenna. You actually have to have an antenna somewhere else in the car, so this one looks good. That's just dumb. And he made a fortune from it. And then maybe turned around, he's like, "Hey, look, I'm going to make billet yo-yos." At this point, I'm like, something, go for it, Doug. Bitchin' billet yo-yos are badass. And guess what? We were badass. And he sold a buttload of them. At that point, I was just Doug to turn around and say, I'm going to make a we have billet bricks and put them in homes. So you got to build a brick house out of billet. I'll be knock yourself out, Doug. Go for it. Yeah. That dude has got some serious, what I would like to call innovative creativity.
Yeah, he does. And, what's been cool is, I follow his son on social media and stuff, and like how the pedigree has, transferred, and you think about all the success that he's had, and he talked a lot about that. But, it just was always ironic to me that you guys were like side by side for shop wise. And then, he ends up on the East Coast. You guys are still kind of on the West. But, you still dabble in the same stuff, and that's the cool thing about being a car person is, you oftentimes, you may go in a little different direction, as you said earlier, but you're not that far away from, kind of, the stuff that's in your blood, you know what I mean? The car stuff.
Yeah. Well, even before the internet, I never felt that separate. I mean, doing with people that were on the East Coast, I did a lot of traveling with Airbrush Action Magazine back in the early 90s. And the internet was there, but it was you got mail. That's about it. And there was not the following, not the Facebook, not the Instagram. There was hardly any communication except for emails. But I never felt that separate from the East Coast. I got to travel over there. We had trade shows. We see all of our buddies at the SEMA show. All of our East Coast guys would be at the SEMA show. And then I'd go over to a trade show in Florida, or I'd go to a show over, I go to the bike, we go to Daytona, Bike Week. And so when it comes to customization, I never really thought it was never like a rivalry, like rapping became with Tupac and Biggie. And it wasn't, if you really look into that, it wasn't even them that started it. It was the instigators around them. So when you see a lot of people trying to separate East and West Coast, anyone's ever trying to start a fight and they're not even part of it, they have an agenda. And sometimes it's not even a bad agenda. Sometimes they just like the excitement. They want the drama.
Sure.
And so I never really saw it as being a rivalry or even being that separate. So when Doug moved over there, it wasn't like, oh, well, I mean, I hadn't done anything for Doug in a little while. He was doing different directions than I was on stuff. And I would still consult with him every now and then on certain things. He wanted me to come out and do the van for him at the time, and I couldn't do it. With work and some other commitments I had at the time, I just couldn't do it. And he had Jay go out and do it, and it worked all for the better anyway. It worked out really good. The van came out killer. And then I've done a couple of things for him off and on. I just did a couple of concept renderings not too long ago for a project that may or may not happen. I haven't heard back from him on it. So there's still stuff going on, and I have no problem. I mean, right now, in the past, I could always, if I was busy, because I was busy, and it wasn't me being mean, but I had to delegate my time. If I didn't make time for you, it wasn't because someone was telling me I could. It's because I was telling them I couldn't. And now it still is that way, but I got two twin brothers that are my bosses at Daniels Woodland, and so when it comes down to it, I have quite a bit of free reign, except when it comes down to Craig. We got this job, this is never going to get it done. So I probably don't have as much time as I could in the past to do something with Doug in the future. But the funny thing is, I probably could actually make time better because turning over, not because in the past I literally would, I was my own boss. I used to make jokes saying I'm self-employed and I'm a sole proprietor and self-employed. My boss is an asshole, and that's the truth. I was the worst boss / employee known to mankind. I haven't done hardly any. Very few all-nighters. I think I've done maybe 2 all-nighters this year on projects, and it wasn't because I wasn't prepared. It was because something went south and we had to get it done. And that's because I have a team now I can depend on. And me and Dion and Landy, we're a team also. Nino Brown, and we back in the day when Kyle was there, we were all a team. We all depended on each other. But we were the guys with 5 plates at the buffet table. We didn't know when to stop piling on the plates. And that can start after a while. It will kill you. And we got better at it towards the end. But I remember we used to always take on too much. I remember one year we I can't remember what year it was. We had 13 vehicles we staged at SEMA. And that means we brought 13 vehicles. We painted, we customized, we staged 13 vehicles at SEMA. And we also were instrumental in House of Color, Chisholm suspension, and I believe Iwata's boots. We had instrumental stuff in those boots. I think we designed and built the Iwata boot that year too. So it was psychotic. We had 3 months of nothing but SEMA. Luckily, the clients that SEMA were paying. Otherwise, you do all that work with SEMA, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I'm my own client. I'm broke. So that would happen. But it's nice. It's nice having a team now that it's very similar to the way I was with BD on Wednesday, except it's a lot more. Which it has to be, because if we've got before it'd be like, hey, we got a $30,000 job coming up or something, or a $6,000 pay job. I just got to brokering a couple $1 million deal on something we're doing for a client down the road, and it's a little different. There's a little bit. I keep you up in that a little bit, and I would be definitely up a little bit more if I didn't have the knowledge of the people at Daniels Woodland that are backing me on it. Because I was like, you have Craig broker a couple $1 million deal. You're going to be in trouble. There's one thing I'm good at, baby: spending other people's money.
I know,
I've
right?
done it all my life.
Yeah, it makes things a little bit. Makes things a little bit.
Baby.
Yeah, other people's money, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Last thing I have on for Doug DeBerti. So something that someone had sent me, and I remember seeing photos, but there were a couple of dualies that he had built, and I think Josh had talked to Doug, and they called them double knuckle vision.
Double knuckle.
Yes.
The double knuckle dualies. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like so long ago. But those I think made the only thing I had wanted to ask is like I don't remember ever seeing them here. I think they were like shipped right over to Japan or something.
No. There was two. Doug and Manny was Doug's partner back then. He had these matching dualies, and Doug's had shaved tail lights, and Manny's didn't. And there was some things that were a little bit like we would say Doug's was better than Manny's was. I believe Doug's did get shipped over to Japan or to another country. Manny's was purchased by, I forget his name. Oh man, I think his name. I want to say Sean, but I don't think that was his name. He was the guy that lived in Bakersfield, or Eric. Eric. He had it for a while, and I used to see it all the time over at Scott.
That's pretty cool, yeah. Because it turned up. There's that rare magazine in Japan called it says Boob Car, but it stands for like custom car, I think, or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it's still technically around, but it was funny because one of the Japan guys sent me a photo, and it was like it was on a cover over there. And it's cool because even our customs, Rick Bentley had sent me when Big Mike's truck, it was obviously on the first street trucks, but then it was in this feature in 2000.
It was in Cal Magazine.
Cal. That's right. That's what it was. That one was Cal. Yeah, and that's a rare magazine.
Yeah, so was Biggie's S10, which later, but the Biggie's S10 became Dion's.
Yes.
The S10 that Dion tricked out.
Yes.
And that was also, and then I believe we got to make jokes. It was Kirkland. Kirkland was one of the first owners of the Look That Kills, and it actually got into Cal Magazine before it was on a magazine.
Yes, and I've seen that one because Josh,
and it was Kirkland. It was Ryan. It was not James Kirkland. It was Ryan Kirkland, because I remember Ryan Kirkland's wife posed with it in the photograph. I think Sean Cross did it. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was something like that. And our friend Jason Redden, he had got that magazine. He had that magazine. And he gave it to Josh, which was cool, and it ended up going with the truck when he sold it, which I thought was cool,
If you go to Got Paint, if you look in the magazine section, granted half the links don't work, but that Cal magazine cover is on the Got Paint website.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I never knew that.
Yeah, I think we had about 60 or 70 of the covers, and Dion stopped counting at about 120.
Yeah,
covers that we had at Kal Koncepts going way back to before I was there. He was, the first cover that we had together was Street Trucks. It was a Street Master truck that we did for Doug DeBerti. It was at SEMA. It was also the very first time I went to SEMA in '92.
Oh, wow.
I did the rendering, and then we ended up doing the paintwork on it. And it was a Street Master and Trail Master, same company. And we did both trucks. The Trail Master truck was a 4-wheel drive and the cover truck, and then the Street Master truck was on the inside for one of the ads, I believe. You're making me go back like 30 years. My memory ain't that good, dude.
Well,
you have to talk to Dion. Dion's the freaking machine when it comes to memory. He'll listen to this podcast, call me up and say, you got half that shit wrong, Craig.
Yeah, and dude, we loved having him on. You know, he was such, you know, he was so cool, and you know, we talked about a lot of that stuff. But you know who also had a good memory, and I know you know him from the industry, is, you know, I'm sure you guys are friends or whatever, but Doug Starbuck.
Oh yeah,
dude, Doug, yeah. Man. I mean, he blew my mind because I think he moved his shop, or he was selling, or kind of retiring, or scaling back. But like when
his landlord sold the property or something.
Last
time I heard on one of it, so he had to get out.
Yeah, and well, I couldn't believe his business, like how clean it was back there, and he had like every, you know, cover on the wall, and like even magazines, and I was like, man, I've never even heard of this, and it was like, yeah, I got that one too. I was like, holy shit. But
I always tease Doug. He's like, yeah, the only reason in the news stayed in business is because Doug paid him, because none of us did. We were dicks. He sent it to us. We're like, we never got it.
Yeah, and speaking of that, so In the News is like a stone throw from here, and they went out of business, right? Or I guess they sold.
Because I didn't pay him for all the covers.
Right. But the funny thing is, Ryan Sumner, who was one of their best employees, he dealt with all the mini trucking guys. He's, I think, restarted it, but he wasn't able to get the name for some reason. So there's already guys that are ordering the black. So I'll have to tell him to send you an invoice.
No,
just kidding.
There's a reason he hasn't contacted me. Hey, those guys aren't good.
Right.
We would never be dicks about it. We would send it without asking.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Like, that was the big.
And they were like, "That's cool. Thank you."
Yeah, that was the big gag back then. But
yeah.
We're talking with Craig Fraser. I don't want to take much more of your time, but I do want to bring this up. When we had you on last time, we kind of connected over, you know, we talked about Ian Fleming for a brief moment, and we talked about James Bond. But since we've had you on, man, the world lost Sean Connery, dude, back in October 2020. Yeah. Was he your favorite Bond, or who was your favorite Bond?
Sean Connery was my favorite Bond. Just because if you don't like Sean Connery, you're a bad person. Yes. I just love Sean Connery. I love and it's really funny because you listen to other people in the town and the area he came in. They don't sound like that.
Yeah.
So I think he had a speech impediment. Actually, no one even catched him. And he was so badass about Sean Connery is when he played Radius in Hunt for Red October. Everyone had accents, except evidently Captain Radius. He went to Glasgow University, evidently, because he's not Russian, he's Scottish or Welsh, whatever. But I thought it was just hilarious. That happened, but I was really bummed when he passed away. I was really, I to this day will stand by, even though the Raiders of the Lost Ark Crystal Skull is kind of, I don't know, it's not that good of a movie. He had to change that movie because he wasn't in it. Because he just didn't want to do the script. And I think it was, he'll say he didn't like the script. I don't think it was that. I think it was some other issues.
Yeah.
But that movie without him in it wasn't as good. The same way that the reason Godfather 3 sucks is because Robert Duvall wasn't in the movie.
Yeah.
And they had to bring in George Hamilton and totally rewrite the whole thing. And Winona Ryder was sick, and so they had to bring in Sophia Coppola. So you can go, I mean, I can geek out on Godfather and Bond all day long, but he was my favorite, but I don't think he personified James Bond as the best. And the best personification, the best version was the guy that only played it once. And that was George Lazenby, who played it in Her Majesty's Secret Service. When Telly Savalas played Blofeld. And in that one, if you really read all the Ian Fleming books, that character, and Ian Fleming, he made a comment about Lazenby. But it was funny, Lazenby did it one, and he wanted to sign him off for another one. He was like, no, I'm good. I don't need this around my neck. And so they went Roger Moore. I mean, I loved them all. You know, even Timothy Dalton, who was my least favorite Bond, I still like him. Actually, I like him the best in Rocketeer. Timothy Dalton was kick-ass in Rocketeer. It was just cheap enough for him. But I will say that Daniel Craig really, really dug him as James Bond. When he came in, he had one request. He's like, I don't want anything that doesn't exist. In other words, I don't want this, invisible car. I don't want this. And the last one that Pierce Brosnan did was almost ridiculous. I still loved it, so like it's awesome. But the special effects and stuff, if you just wanted just a good old knockdown, drag out knuckle buster of a James Bond, and that's cool. I love that, the fact that he did have some gizmos, but no more than Jason Bourne, you know. And I think Daniel Craig read it correctly because he saw that people were getting away from that. He wanted the realistic. You know, we wanted more. You know, the same way Jason Bourne took off, and you know, it might be highly improbable physical feats, but at least he doesn't have a watch that does a million things. You know,
right?
So.
Yeah, and what was ironic is being a Lincoln fan, going back and just kind of love the nostalgia of the periods of the different movies, but like Goldfinger is a fan favorite of a lot of folks, and there's the what they consider the car crushing scene, and it's they filmed it in January of '64 in Miami. And I found this through some of the making of, but basically the 64 Lincoln was brand new. So what they did is they kind of do a switcheroo. You can barely kind of see it if you're a Lincoln guy. And you could see they do switch the car, but still it was a 63 car when they crushed it. So they've always been on the cutting edge of like making people, you know, go, wow, look at the tech, or wow, look what they're blowing up. But I'm anxious to see how it goes into, you know, the next, I don't know, 50 years or so.
Well, it'll be interesting to see who they're going to pick. It's going to be interesting to see how they're going to deal with bringing back. I mean, everyone's been able to suspend the reality of the fact that James Bond never ages, and he keeps changing. He has the same name, but he never was killed.
Right.
He never died. So I'm fascinated. I'm not upset by it. I thought it was a great movie. I loved it. I can't wait to see how they deal with it, and I hope they have the same quality writers that we've had in the last couple of them. And I heard that you do. I've looked at some of the candidates for the upcoming James Bond, and I'm stoked on all of them. I think all of them have to bring something different to the table. But also, it's be interesting to see what car they go with, because everyone's going to be like, okay, you know, what's the watch going to be? What's the car going to be?
Yeah.
Are they going to go old school? Are they going to go Daniel Craig wanted to bring back the Aston Martin, you know, because if you remember, Pierce Brosnan was BMW, you know, and it's iconic. It's kind of funny because you had Jason Statham, you know, with the Transporter, did it with an Audi. You know, it's like you find a car. Bit of trivia, you probably know this being a James Bond nut, but Goldfinger was not supposed to be AMC. Ford did not have their Mustangs ready in time, and so they decided not to do it. They decided to pull it because that was their debut of some stuff, and so they opted out of it. And AMC at the last minute came in there, and that's why all the cars in Goldfinger are AMCs.
Interesting. Yeah, I know, because in that era, you know, especially now, I mean, even now, the partnerships with movies are big. We know that. But, like, in that era, that was, like, your way to go, dude. Like, here, you know, especially Mustang, right? Because it was coming out around that time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely always interesting. But, yeah, I look forward to seeing, you know, what's next from the whole franchise and whatnot. But, dude, man, like, we've talked about a lot of cool stuff, and I really appreciate it. Like, is there anything else maybe that we didn't hit on that you wanted to plug, or something we missed?
No, I just when we talked about it, I said, yeah, you just lead. I had a blast last time, and I just let you just lead it. I mean, there's no way you're going to stop me from talking anyway, but you just get me in the right direction, and I'll entertain. So I think I can't really think of anything we haven't really covered.
Yeah.
If people know how to get a hold of me, I'm still got the same day cell number. I'm still got the same website, the same Facebook and Instagram pages. I can't remember what number I was at when I was doing my nightly sketches when I did the interview with you.
Yeah, you were still doing them, and those were all. Yeah, you were doing those, but like you said,
I'm still doing them now. I'm at 2057 or 58 right now. Yeah.
Okay, so for some, I guess I'm not on Facebook as much, so I haven't been seeing it.
No, it's on Instagram. It's Instagram. I do share to Facebook, but it's mostly on my Bond Fraser. If you go to Instagram, it's at Bond BONFRASER at Bond Fraser, and you can just go in there and you have to request, because I've got stuff on there that I had to make private because of Disney. But if you just request it, I let you on. And I've got 2000. I think I'm at 2058 or 5758. I did last night. I do it in series. Like I'll do 5 or 6 things. I had bass players, and I think I did Gene Simmons last night, so I don't know who I'm going to do tonight. I think I've run out of my favorite bass players. I may have to use Scott Pilgrim. So
yeah, and you did Ian Lemmy Fraser recently. Yeah, I see that one.
Oh yeah, Ian Fraser Killmister. Yeah, the Lost Fraser.
Yep.
I
just saw something about him because I was watching like the top. It was like the top 15 rock and roll stars that kind of had maybe lost some money or whatever the story was, some YouTube clickbait. But yeah, like he was hardcore for a long time, man. Rest in peace.
Oh no, he's one of my favorites. He's badass. I'm right now trying to work a deal on doing a tribute bass for him with the state, with his family, and a couple of companies the company that built his last bass, and working with them on that. So that's going to be, it's not a big secret or anything. We've been talking about it for a while, but I'm hoping to get my foot in the door on that one. And then I keep on. I don't do the NAMM show as much as I used to because COVID kind of stopped it for everybody. But we're still trying to get everything. All the shows are still slowly coming back. I was able to do the Monsterpalooza show, which anyone that wants to see something fun, go to the Monsterpalooza show in Pasadena in I think it's next year around March, April, whatever. Just type in Monsterpalooza. It's anything to do with the monster movie or the horror makeup industry. And I think we mentioned it last time. I was working for a couple of different movie production companies. I mentioned Glenn Hetrick, and I was working at Alchemy, and I was also working with A&D. I still do stuff for them occasionally, and hoping to do more with those guys. I love doing the restoration on the old movie props and stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I'd remind people, if you go to Von Fraser, as he mentioned, you can click on Instagram now. It's at the top. You click on the little bell, and when you do, it's going to open the menu so you can turn on post notifications, and that way you won't miss out on cool stuff. So I did that for his. But yeah, I do recall now seeing a couple of these recently, and it's always awesome. Yeah, and like I said, I just appreciate your candor. Growing up, reading the magazines and things like that, it's cool to be able to network with people like yourself, and just for you to lend a little bit of time and just kind of shoot the shit. So like I said, I can't thank you enough. Appreciate the friendship, and thanks for motivating us a little bit and just kind of giving us some things to ponder.
Oh no, anytime, man. And then I just want one final plug. There's a gallery in Simi Valley called the Mary Lewis Gallery, and she's real heavy with Disney art, but she has some of my non-Disney stuff, some of my weird stuff, and she's a real sweetheart. But great gallery if you're ever in the Simi Valley area, or just check out the Mary Lewis Gallery online. She helps me out. I regularly have artwork down there. I'm looking probably in the next month or so, probably in October, I'm going to actually go down there and do a live painting, and I still do signings and live paintings with Disney too. So if you stay on my Instagram or my Facebook page, or even the Craig Fraser Videos page, which I don't upgrade that much since the podcast was my main podcast vehicle. Mostly I'm on my Instagram mostly. I'll let notifications when I'm out doing stuff, and then if everything works out well, I might even be at SEMA next year. It'll be the first time I've been at SEMA in 7 years.
Wow!
And so, but we may have a build we're doing for it, and that's going to be kind of fun.
Yeah, very cool. Well, dude, we wish you all the continued success. I mean, I've turned on the notifications there so I don't miss any, and I'll be kind of looking out as always just to see what's out there, and who knows, a year or two down the road, I'm sure we'll sync up again, and I appreciate your time, Craig.
No, anytime, man. Looking forward to enjoying your podcast. Keep on cranking them out. You guys are doing a great job.
Yeah, it means a lot, bro, and stay on the rise, and I can't wait to come out to California and see you, man.
Yeah, come out here. I'll give you a tour. There's a couple of cool wineries out here we'll hang out at.
Oh, boy, I'm really in trouble then. Thanks, man.
There's a couple of tequila places here, too, so don't worry.
Oh, shit, I'm really in trouble.
Get you some real trouble.
Hey,
wines, tequila's a chaser.
Hey, I got a feeling, Craig, this may end badly.
It always does.
Thanks again, my friend. Have a great night.
You too. Take it easy, bro.